About a month ago, my partner confessed that he cheated on me. We've been together for around a year and a half, and until this happened, I would have said our relationship was genuinely good in almost every way. A bit of background because it matters. When we were about 4 months into exclusively dating, something traumatic happened. I found my flatmate dead in his bedroom. The shock of that completely broke me, and not long after, I developed PTSD. That moment didn't happen in isolation. The year leading up to it had already been brutal. I had just come out of a 3-year relationship that ended because my ex was having a full affair. At the same time, I was finishing my dissertation. My dad nearly died back in my home country, and I was trying to keep my business running. On top of that, my ex took the dog, was emotionally abusive, later got diagnosed with skin cancer, and somehow I still ended up hosting them in my home for a month after their affair partner turned abusive toward them. So by the time I found my flatmate, I was already hanging on by a thread. That was the moment I completely collapsed. My current partner stayed with me through that period. He didn't run when things were dark. After those first, extremely hard months, we officially became a couple. We grew very close and became incredibly supportive of each other. We had what I would call a really good year. We spent time with his family. He met mine in my home country, and our relationship felt healthy, stable, and genuinely loving. At the same time, he was dealing with serious stress at work. His boss was abusive, and the job was draining him. I tried to encourage him to talk, to vent, to consider applying elsewhere, but he mostly shut down and kept everything bottled up. Around then, his partying started to escalate. He began going harder when he went out with friends, more substances, longer nights. According to him, that's where everything started to go wrong. When he first confessed, I didn't get the full story, not even close. When he first told me about the cheating, the story came out in pieces. At the beginning, he said both times it happened, he was out alone on a bender and randomly ran into a girl at the pub. She turned out to be someone loosely connected to a mutual acquaintance of ours. According to that first version, the first time they met, they kissed at the pub and he stopped it there. The second time, they met again at the pub. She invited him back to hers. He went, but they only kissed and touched before he shut it down. That version didn't last long. A few days later, after I told him that I was open to trying to move forward together, he admitted that the second time hadn't stopped at kissing. He told me they had penetrative sex. Then, about 10 days after that, I looked through his phone and saw messages with his closest party friends. That's when I realized they already knew who the girl was and had actually been around the night it happened. That's when the story changed again. The final version he gave me was this. The first time he had invited both our mutual acquaintance and this girl back to his place for a smoke after the pub. The acquaintance and their partner didn't end up coming, but the girl did. They kissed and touched, and he says he was so intoxicated that he couldn't have sex and decided to stop it there. About a month later, the same girl showed up again, this time while he was hosting a flat party with his friends. They were drinking and taking drugs all night. At some point in the morning, he went out to get breakfast, and she followed him. She asked if he wanted to go back to hers, which was only a couple of streets away. He told me he spent about an hour there, mostly talking nonsense. Eventually things turned sexual. They started foreplay and began having sex, but he says it didn't last long. He felt awful the entire time, stopped himself, told her it was a mistake, explained that he had a partner and ended it. He says there was no emotional connection, that he isn't particularly attracted to her, that it could have been anyone. He also says he doesn't have her contact details and hasn't spoken to her since. All of this came out 2 weeks before he was supposed to move into my place. I never imagined I'd be in this position. I always believed cheating was a clear deal breaker for me. And yet, somehow, I didn't leave. I never thought I'd be able to say this, but I genuinely don't think I could heal from everything I've been through without him. Since the confession, our relationship somehow feels better on the surface than it ever did before. He's more emotionally open, more present, more attentive. He's stopped using substances, doesn't want to go on heavy nights out with his party friends anymore, and constantly tells me how much guilt and regret he feels for what he did. He says he fully expected me to leave him, that the fact I stayed feels like a miracle to him. He keeps telling me he wants to prove that he can be the partner I deserve. And I believe that his remorse is real. He hasn't been defensive. He reassures me constantly. He offers transparency without me asking, sharing his location, letting me know when he'll be home, checking in. Right now, his focus is completely on me, and I do feel deeply loved. But I'm not naive. Something fundamental broke for me. I told him that whatever we had before is gone. That relationship is dead. If we continue, it has to be something entirely new, built from scratch. I don't see him the same way anymore. What hurts the most is the timing. The second time he cheated was at the end of a week where I had shown up for him fully. I cooked for him multiple times, gave him massages, supported him emotionally, took him out clubbing, and we genuinely had a great time together. That Saturday, he was supposed to spend the day with friends and then come sleep at my place. He canceled on me last minute. Normally, that's something I really struggle with, and he knows it. It had only happened once before, months earlier, and he promised to be more considerate, but I knew he'd had a hard week. I had already seen him more than usual, so I didn't say anything. I let him go and trusted him. He didn't message me until late the next afternoon. I assumed he'd just gone hard with his friends. I never imagined anything like this. He insists the girl meant nothing, that he wasn't chasing her specifically. That it could have been anyone. He says there was no emotional attachment. But she lives in our neighborhood. Her friends know who I am. I've crossed paths with her on the street. She recognized me. A week later, her best friend recognized me in a shop, while I was with my partner, and just froze, staring at us. I keep checking his phone. I haven't found anything new, but I did notice deleted call logs and messages I remembered seeing before. So now I'm stuck. I love him. I believe he loves me, but I don't know if I'm being naive or just desperate to hold on to something that once felt safe. Can a relationship really come back from this? Can I ever stop seeing the images in my head? Can I ever forget that he wanted someone else enough to risk losing me? The hardest part is this. I want to be with someone who understands my value before they almost destroy everything, not after. And I don't know if I can ever truly let this go.